So, we've arrived at Black Ops 4 finally. After so long we've arrived, and I have a lot to say about this game in general and its maps that inhabit it. So, the launch map Voyage of Despair is often considered to be the worst zombies map of all time. Truly a horrible title to have. Is that statement deserved? Well, let's get into it. So, Voyage of Despair is very interesting as it's the start of an entirely new story, the Chaos story. This is not Ether, it has nothing to do with Ether, or at least until Vanguard, and is entirely set in a completely different multiverse than Ether. Therefore, nothing from Ether is canon to Chaos. And normally, I would be starting us out with the lore here, but I'm sorry to disappoint the 5 Chaos fans out there, but I will not be covering the story for Chaos. I'm simply not invested enough in it, and I don't have enough passion for it. I still don't know everything about it, despite knowing a little bit about it. And to be honest with you, I don't hate Chaos either. I think it's perfectly passable, but when you compare it to Ether, in my opinion, it just doesn't hold a candle because Ether has so many more maps, so many more pieces of material released for it, while Voyage and Chaos at large have nothing. And while I do kinda care about it, I think it gets really decent actually in your Ancient Evil. I simply don't have enough passion for this story to talk about it, and I will be leaving it out. So for the rest of the maps, I will be not covering the intros, the stories, the promotional material. Just for Chaos, Ether will still have its stories, but for Chaos, no story, I'm sorry. Of course, moving on from the lore, I usually talk about the aesthetic, and that is no different here. So it's no secret to anybody that Voyage of Despair takes place on the Titanic. Yes, the Titanic. Quite an ambitious place to have a map take place on, and I honestly think it works pretty decently for the most part, at least in its aesthetic. It's a cold winter night on the night of the unfortunate incident of the Titanic. However, it's completely pitch black, but of course the ship is full of colors. Going inside, there's a bunch of colors. You have every room that made the Titanic unique on this map, and it's fully fledged and playable, with of course the Chaos lore twist on it, which of course we all know is like pretty much stuff with the Sentinel artifacting, freezing time, and the trial and all that. So having a zombies twist on the Titanic is a very awesome idea for a map. This map's visuals alone set a really good first impression in my opinion, as when this map was first revealed, it was one of the most hyped maps. For a reason. It looked really good. And its graphics, even in my opinion, still hold up today. So that's definitely something this map has going for it, is its graphics and its just aesthetic in general. So of course though, we have Black Ops 4 as a game, having all its new mechanics, and normally like in Kino, I count a quick revive giving you the 3 revives as a Kino mechanic. Technically counting all the BO4 mechanics as a Voyage mechanic would be a little crazy, as there technically isn't a first map in Voyage. Blood of the Dead and Voyage are both the first maps of their respective stories, so I'm not really going to talk too much about the BO4 mechanics for this map, but I will say I think the BO4 mechanics are pretty serviceable. Of course, we all know they get rid of Jug, they get rid of all the perks, and they put in a bunch of more mediocre type of perks. You can choose your perk loadouts. They get rid of slide hopping for the most part. You don't have tacticals, instead you actually spawn them with a specialist weapon. Very controversial additions, of course. However, I think it kind of evens out. Like, we have the specialist, which is a little overpowered, but with how crazy the AI spawning in Black Ops 4 is, as zombies can spawn in front of you, I think it balances itself out pretty well. This map is, of course, extremely easy for high rounds. And not just this map, actually, this entire game is very easy for high rounds, which is honestly a good thing. And there's also difficulty settings. So everybody's saying that this game is too easy, play hardcore for a moment. 3 hit downs. Still too easy? Well, go play realistic, because you have a 1 hit down. Whenever people call this game too easy, it kind of gets on my nerves, because if the game's too easy, just increase the difficulty. May I add, if you increase the difficulty, you get a permanent 1.25 times XP, and on a realistic, you get permanent double XP. And it stacks with double XP, so you do the math. All in all, I think the Black Ops 4 mechanics, of course, there are some misses where I think it's really stupid how you can't change your perk loadouts in-game. I think that's a huge issue. I also think a huge problem with Black Ops 4 is the fact that they had to get rid of all the old perks. And we have Gobblegums actually make a return in the form of elixirs. These are of course monetized, and instead of earning liquid diviniums, you earn Nebulium Plasma, where you can go to the Nebulium Plasma factory and spin for some elixirs. Yes, the number is inflated to make it feel like you're getting more for your buck. However, Titanium Treble, which gives you 3 guaranteed rares, is up permanently, and Tuguscan Tripler comes back every now and again, even still, plus double XP, double weapon XP, and double Nebulium Plasma all come back occasionally. And Tuguscan Tripler pretty much, I'll just summarize it as this, you can get 9 Perkaholics for 100 Nebulium Plasma. It's honestly a little more likely than you think to get 3 unbelievably great elixirs in one spin. I personally have no problems with the elixir system because you can't save them by dashboarding, which is honestly a good thing. And if you're into public games, this helps a lot because the host can't no longer disconnect if they go down. You also have the fact that you can use them at any point instead of having to go up to a machine. Sure, it makes it a little easy, but when you're going for the various BO4 Easter eggs, any help you can get is always nice. All in all, to me, the BO4 mechanics are a mixed bag, and in my opinion, they kind of even out with each other, and I'm honestly kind of indifferent to a lot of the BO4 changes. I don't like some of them, I like some of them, but for the most part, I honestly think they did a really good job. I play BO4 a lot. BO4 is tied with Black Ops 3 and Cold War as my favorite zombies game as of right now. I love all 3 of these games, and I really do like BO4, and I think its mechanics are alright. Anyway though, going back to Voyage, we actually have a new type of shield that gets introduced on this map. The Ballistic Shield. Kinda like any old normal zombie shield, however, this has an infinite damage SMG that refills with max ammos, and you can ADS with it to make the shield change its look and get a more accurate version of the SMG. This shield is badass, and it can be upgraded into an ice variant. Very complicated to do, but it is something you can do if you're into that sort of thing. The shield is amazing, and it just helps you so much on a map that has a ton of new types of enemies. Leading us off, it's the Catalysts. Catalysts are pretty much souped up versions of normal zombies. Starting from round 9, a Catalyst has a chance to emerge from a body of a normal zombie in various elements. Fire, electric, water, and acid. Acid pretty much does damage over time to you if he stands in your range. Electric can blind you. Fire is like a napalm zombie from Shangri-La. And the water zombie buffs all normal zombies around them and runs away from the player pretty much. And zombies that are buffed have more health and do more damage, so you want to make sure to get these guys out as soon as possible. All in all, I think the Catalysts are pretty good additions that really shake up the Chaos's gameplay and makes it stand out from Ether. Because Ether, of course, doesn't have the Catalyst because this is a completely new story. Something else Ether does not have is the Stoker, which is the new mini-boss on this map. The Stokers are okay bosses. They're a little easy in my opinion, but at the same time, they're really challenging if you're not careful. The Hammer Swing actually does half your health, so you better be really careful. But pulling out your specialist weapon gives you a bunch of armor. And yes, there is a new armor system in this game too, which I hear is one of the reasons Jug is not in this game. Once again, I'm indifferent to the armor system, but these Stokers go through the armor, so you're going to need all the armor you can get, or you need to take these guys out quick. Something else you're going to want to take out quick is the Blight Father. The Blight Father is an abomination to say the least. It vomits everywhere, it's dangerous, it does a lot of damage, its swipe can do 100 health, it has range attack, it can grapple you like the Panzer. The Blight Father in general is extremely difficult to kill. You need to shoot its pores on the back until it dies. Usually it'll drop a nuke power out for killing it, which is always nice. But these things have a lot of health and they start spawning on about round 14. It should also be noted that these guys one-shot your shield if it's out. So make sure you don't have your shield out when attacking these guys. The gun on it is very good against the Blight Father, but I would still recommend sticking to your normal weapons in order to be able to defeat the Blight Father. Blight Father, all in all, is really good, and of course I said it drops a nuke power-up when killing it for the most part. It can occasionally drop a max ammo, I believe. However, it can't drop the new power-up on this map, bonus points. This is a universal constant throughout Black Ops 4. A bonus points power-up is what it says on the tin. You go into it, you get 500 points, and double points gives you 1,000 points. A perfectly serviceable drop that really helps you out in the early game. Something else that'll help you out early and late game is the new monkey bombs on this map, the Homunculus. The Homunculus is pretty much a monkey bomb that you get 2 of, however it lasts a lot longer. They're a very good addition, just like the new wonder weapon in my opinion, the Kraken, which has 4 elemental upgrades. The base Kraken can be obtained via side quest, or via the box, or via a dev side Easter egg that was never meant to be discovered. Seriously, I have no idea why they left that in the game. But I digress. Getting this thing is not super hard to do, and when you do get it, it is really fun to use. It's pretty much a shotgun cannon, and if you go around the map, you can pick up 3 pieces to build the distillery kit. Building this distillery kit and then killing various catalyst zombies of respective elements can allow the elemental Kraken to be created. You can get a fire Kraken, an acid Kraken, a water Kraken, and the lightning Kraken. For example, the water Kraken, when shot, will create an ice vortex where the zombies walk through, they'll slowly take damage over time and slow them down. This is great in case you need to do an Easter egg step or something like that. And with the addition of the new dev side Easter egg and the various ways to get the Kraken, all 4 players in the game can get the Kraken, so they can all try out their versions of the elemental upgrades, assuming you can find 3 other people to play Black Ops 4 with. Seriously though, I think the Kraken is pretty good. And something else really cool is the amount of side Easter eggs on this map. As I said, you can upgrade your shield, you can get a free perk Easter egg, you get the free Kraken and Homunculus Dev Easter egg, of course the normal free Kraken Easter egg, you can get a specialist reroll from the box. There's just so many side Easter eggs on this map that I really feel like add a lot of replayability, especially for those into that sort of thing. Something most people are not into though is the Easter egg of this map, which is actually in the good section. The main reason why is because you can do it solo, of course, but I honestly think this Easter egg has a little bit of value to it, so let's get into it quickly. So the first step is to activate the Sentinel artifact, aka turning on the power. The second step is to go around the map and then find the 4 Pack-a-Punch locations. Yes, there's roaming Pack-a-Punch on this map. Anyway though, after you go to the 4 locations and activate them, what you're going to then need to do is go around the map, find 4 symbols, find 4 clocks with those symbols around them, and then look at the numbers on the clock, read them as an ordered pair, enter them at the captain's deck, go down to the poop deck, and then go down to the turbine room. Enter the digits that the minute hand is pointing to over at the captain's deck, and down over at the poop deck, you gotta enter the first digit of air and ground, and then going to the turbine room, you need to enter the first digit of fire and water. It's very complicated if you do not know what you're doing. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I did this Easter egg was 3 years after it came out. It's ridiculous, but if you get the hang of it, it really isn't that bad. However, it does not tell you what you got wrong if you mess up the numbers. So if you don't know what you're doing, you can be stuck on the step for literally over an hour. It's terrible. It reminds me of Revelations, and that is not a good thing because that map has some really cancerous Easter egg steps as well. Anyway though, after you hopefully get that done without too much trouble, you then need to get to round 9, and then you need to start killing catalysts at various sparking plugs around the map. These have about 6 locations, but 4 of them will be glowing the element of a catalyst. You need to go through the next 4 rounds killing the respective catalysts at these plugs, assuming you can get the correct one to spawn. So if you're unlucky, you'll be done by round 100. So on round 100, after you get all 4 plugs ignited, you then actually need to do some lockdowns, all in a certain order. Acid, water, electric, fire. You need to memorize where you killed these catalyst zombies, and then you need to activate their lockdown sequences in the order of acid, water, electric, fire. These lockdowns are actually pretty tough. You'll be fighting a lot of Blight Fathers, you'll be in some very dangerous areas. For the most part though, as long as you play defensive, you should be good. But after you're finished with the fire lockdown, the Sentinel artifact will lower down and you can pick it up. What you're going to next need to do is actually get the Acid Kraken, which of course is not super hard to do on this map because there's a multitude of ways to get the Kraken. Anyway though, after you get the Acid Kraken, you need to go into the turbine room and then shoot 9 blue pipes, spewing water. Shooting them will crystallize the water, and eventually after shooting all 9, the room will start to flood. What we're going to do after that, end the round, and then the Pack-a-Punch will always get sent to the turbine room. You need to Pack-a-Punch the artifact and then go look for 9 planet symbols around the map. 9, yes, they're all in the same location each time, so if you memorize all 9 locations, it's not super bad. Anyway though, after you get all 9 planet symbols, you got to go back down to the cargo hold, and you're going to look at the display here that has opened from a box that was normally concealed. What you're going to need to do now is interact with this display, and then the 9 planets will light up in a certain order. You need to take the order these light up and down, because what you're going to need to do is shoot all 9 planets down in that order. Yes, it's as ridiculous as it sounds. If you don't know the location for these things, this step is a nightmare, and some of the planets look similar to each other. However, the sun will always be last, and what you're going to want to do after you shoot all 9 planets and collect the planets when they fall into the map, when you shoot the sun down, the sun will fly into the map at spawn, and you're going to need to interact with it. This will cause a bunch of icebergs to spawn. When these icebergs spawn, you're going to need to go through these as fast as possible by shooting your weapon at them. I recommend the Ice Kraken for this. The Helium Salvo works a lot well too. Also rifles and the Ballistic Shield too. There's a lot of options for this, but what you're going to do is get to the end of the boat before about a 3-minute mark passes. You'll get a max ammo halfway through. Going down the right path at spawn is the fastest way to do this as well. Anyway though, after you get to the end of the boat, you're actually on the boss fight. I know I made it sound not super complicated near the end, but it is really complicated and it's extremely irritating on your first run through. But like Revelations, it can be mastered, but it does have its problem. Anyway though, what you're going to want to do for the boss fight, you're going to go up to where that last iceberg was and you can interact with a circle. Before you go, make sure you have the Helium Salvo. I am not kidding you, as you cannot complete this boss fight without it. I'm not being facetious. You can't do enough damage to, spoiler alert, the eye. During the boss fight, you'll be fighting a giant blue eye, and what you're going to end up needing to do during this boss fight is shooting him. However, the guns in this game are very weak against this boss, and no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to do enough damage on the last phase. It doesn't matter if you have infinite ammo, you will never do enough damage. For some reason, the only gun that does damage here is the Helium Salvo. Not even the Kraken can hurt this thing. This is really stupid because there's no way to get the helium salvo as it's a rocket launcher. By normal means, you have to spin the box. I'd recommend using immolation when you play this Easter egg, and time slip will allow you to speed up spinning the box. Anyway though, after you get the helium salvo, head into the boss fight. What you're going to end up doing is after you activate the boss fight, you'll be sent to the bottom of the ocean, in which you're going to need to swim up to this tree, place a sentinel artifact in it, and then a little cutscene will play. After that, you'll be sent back to the map and a giant iceberg will rise out of the water, and then the eye will emerge from the iceberg and the boss fight will commence. There's 5 phases to this boss fight, which is a lot, but it's not super complicated, as the first 2 phases of this boss fight is just a survival game against 2 Blightfathers. What you're going to end up doing on the first phase is being stuck on the poop deck, and you're going to need to survive the onslaught of zombies, eventually killing 2 Blightfathers, in which you'll then be sent to the turbine room and you'll need to do the same thing. The turbine room being a lot more difficult because it's a lot more cramped, and ice tornadoes will start spawning in the turbine room that will slow you down when you go through them and damage you too. These take about 5-ish minutes, and you get a max ammo and a carpenter at the end of each phase. These stay here all the way up until the next phase. If you don't need them during the phase, make sure you get them before the phase changes. After hopefully not a too tough of a time down here where the Odin perk is, you'll be sent to the staterooms, in which you're actually going to need to start shooting the eye here. This step can actually be completed without the helium salvo, however after this it's futile. So what we're going to want to do here is use the helium salvo to shoot the eye when the eye is shooting a beam down the hallway. The eye will start shooting 2 beams down the hallway in the beginning, and the eye is invulnerable during these times. Zombies will swarm your location here, however Stokers and Blightfathers are completely absent. I'd recommend Brain Rot so they can distract the zombies, or the Homunculus to distract the zombies, because when the eye starts shooting you need to fire your helium salvo down at the eye. You need to do this 3 times before you're sent to phase 4. Make sure to pick up the max ammo and carpenter down the staterooms before the phase changes. When you hit the next phase in phase 4, you'll be sent to the side of the ship, in which you're going to do the same thing. Except this phase is actually easier, ironically, than phase 3, because there's a lot more space and no boss zombies spawn. After doing the same thing, make sure you pick up your carpenter and max ammo for the next phase, and now you're on the final phase of the boss fight. Now that you're on the final phase, this is easily the hardest phase. Surprise, surprise. What you're going to do here is, of course, do the same thing. Shoot the eye whenever the eye is opening in a laser attack. You're going to do this about 10-ish times. When you're on this phase, however, Blightfathers and Stokers will spawn in high numbers plus catalysts. After shooting it about 3 times with the helium salvo, the eye will start doing an attack with a really loud noise playing. If you do not shoot the eye 4 times with the helium salvo, you'll be instantly down. Or if you have no self-revive, you'll be instantly killed. Dying Wish, however, really helps here if you manage to not be able to kill the eye in time. Be careful when you're shooting the eye on this phase though, as you're completely vulnerable to hits from zombies. After doing this about 3-ish times, the boss fight will be over and you would have completed the Voyage of Despair Easter egg. This will take you a long time on your first try, I guarantee that, but after subsequent playthroughs, it's really not so bad. It eventually takes you down to about 1 hour and 40 minutes, which is a lot for an Easter egg, but trust me, it could be a lot worse. All in all, I think the Easter egg is okay. I definitely don't think it's my favorite Easter egg of all time, and the outro cutscene, it's chaos, it's okay, it's pretty good, it teases then the future map's pretty good. All in all though, I do like the Easter egg, I think it's pretty fun, I think there's a lot of cool steps. While the planet step is kind of annoying, it's a pretty good step for what it is, and it really does give you a good map tour, which is nice. And that brings us to the end of our pro section though. We had a lot to talk about, much more than I thought. I thought going into Voyage I was going to be completely ripping this map a new one, but here I am complimenting it on a lot of the stuff it has in it. However, the time for compliments has come to an end. We're on the bad section now. So, one of my biggest problems with this map is the samey and clunky map layout. A lot of rooms on this map just look the same, and it's extremely clunky and hard to predict where you're going some of the time. Because of the fact that a lot of these rooms look the same, you'll swear you're on the 3rd floor when you're actually on the 2nd floor, and vice versa. When you're going through the poop deck and going down to the turbine room, you'll swear you're going backward. When you jump down like a giant hole in the ground, you'll end up running backwards instead of forward if you're not paying attention. There's just a lot of clunkiness when it comes to the map layout. There's a lot of fast travels around the map that really helps this map out, as if this map didn't have fast travels, this map would suffer immensely. I understand this was based off the real Titanic, but the samey map layout really does get old, and even after completing this map a few times now, I still mix the rooms up every now and again, as a lot of this map just looks the same, which is definitely a problem. Another problem I have is some of these awful Easter egg steps. more specifically the clock and planet step. The third step of the Easter egg, we need to turn the wheels in the captain's room and then of course down on the turbine room and the poop deck. This step is absolutely inexcusably bad because if you get this step wrong, there is no indication on which number you got wrong. You had to go back to all 4 locations of the clock and reread the numbers and then re-enter them in the specific order. And because the symbols look very similar, it's easy to mix them up. There's no excuse for how bad the step is. It's just like Revelations in making the step take longer to make the Easter egg take longer to solve. Awful design. Same with the planet step. There is no reason we need to shoot the planets out of the sky. I shouldn't need to take astronomy in order to complete a zombie's Easter egg. That's just not how it works. The fact there's no planet diagram in the map is a problem, and the fact there's no telling where the planet's going to land when you shoot it is also a problem. It's all trial and error if you don't have a guide. Speaking of guides, shout out Glitch. I literally would have never completed this Easter egg if it wasn't for his guides. Glitch, if you're somehow watching this, I just want to say thanks personally. You're literally a legend, and you helped so many people complete the Black Ops 4 maps. Please keep on keeping on, dude. Anyway, really bad step overall. And of course, the helium being required for the boss is just inexcusably bad and a huge oversight by the developers. I hate that too. This map has some really stinker steps that really bring it down in my opinion. All in all though, that brings me to the end of the bad section. Yeah, that one didn't take very long. All my problem with this map pretty much all stem from the Easter egg and then the really bad map layout. This map, in my opinion, while I had little bad to say about it, is easily one of my least favorite maps in this game. I just really don't like this map that much. I think it's fun for what it is. It's nowhere near, it is not the worst map of all time, in my opinion, but it is nowhere near the best. It's just a mediocre map, in my opinion. It's fun every once in a while, but repetitive playthroughs of this Easter egg are enough to make a man buy Vanguard. Seriously, you'll be wanting to throw your controller out the window by the end of some of these runs. It can be extremely infuriating, especially if you die in a stupid way on the boss fight. All in all, this map is just perfectly mediocre to me. Nothing stands out on this map. Nothing is absolutely insufferably bad. It just falls right in the middle.